Hi, Sandra here, Creative Director at RootMadison, and over the next couple weeks I'm going to go through a 4-part series on building a business card, and through those 4 sections I'm going to go through my favorite tips for designers, things that will be really helpful for you guys, saves on a lot of time and frustration, things like that. So the first blog I'm going to talk about setting up your document properly. Second, we're going to talk about color and the difference between CMYK and RGB and all that for print and for web. The third section, we're going to actually start building on this business card, and I'm going to go through various tools such as the Pathfinder tool, the Align tool, and things of that nature. The last video, we're going to go and talk about exporting it properly so that when you send it off to the printer, they basically know exactly what they're doing, and you don't have to come back and do all these revisions and things like that. So please join me over the next couple weeks through this 4-part blog series. I really look forward to sharing my ideas with you and teaching you how to build a business card. I'm going to go ahead and jump into the first section, which is setting up your business card. Alright, before starting any document, you really have to consider what program is going to be best for what you're trying to achieve. If you want to use Photoshop, this is where you're going to use bitmap images, things like that. The main difference between Photoshop and Illustrator is that Photoshop deals with pixels and bitmaps. Once it's, the final process is there, it's going to convert it to a bitmap. If you want things to be vectorized, using a lot of typography, using a lot of lines and shapes, Illustrator is where you're going to want to go because it functions by generating curved paths. And then these paths can then be extended, to a billboard size, back down to a logo size without losing any of the quality. Both programs, they really do share a lot of the same capabilities, but like I said, once you're done with Photoshop, even if you did make vectorized objects in typography, it's going to be rasterized to that bitmap quality. So if you need to, acquire, modify, print, or develop images of a kind of a photographic nature, then Photoshop is what you're going to want to go for. If you want to create complicated graphics like maps, logos, schematics, or even publications for print ads like brochures, menus, business cards, and things like that, billboards definitely, Illustrator is the one you want to go with. But for this particular project, we're going to be using Illustrator because I'm going to be using a lot of solids, vectors, and typography. So let's go ahead and open Illustrator. Now today we're going to build a business card. And this is what our final business card is going to look like. Let me go ahead and scale that down for you. You're going to see you have your crop lines here, you got your business card, front and back. So this is what our final product is going to look like. And this tutorial is going to show you, the steps it takes to get there. So once you've opened Illustrator, we'll go to File, New. Under Name, let's call it BC for Business Card, and then the name of the company, which is Tomahawk. We're going to go to the size, and since your normal size for a business card is 3.5 inches wide by 2 inches wide, that's exactly what we're going to set our document up for. This doesn't matter if it's bleed or if it's not bleed. We're going to set it up to be exactly what the document size needs to be after cutting and everything like that. So once you've set your height and everything, if your advanced settings aren't showing, go ahead and pull those down so we can make sure we've got the right color in DPI. Since this is a print document, it's going to be a business card, we're going to go ahead and set the color to CMYK instead of RGB. As you can see in the drop-down panel, you have both these options. So let's hit CMYK, and then the raster effect, let's do high 300 ppi. You can go ahead and keep the preview mode to default. So later on in our next video, we'll talk more about color and why we're choosing CMYK instead of RGB. But for now, let's just finish setting up our document properly. So once you have your new document set up correct and everything, let's go ahead and hit OK. So this pulls up your business card. I'm going to go ahead and zoom out here hitting Z and then hitting my option menu. This is going to zoom you out just a bit, and I'll go ahead and center this for you so you can see the entire document. Alright, so you have your 2.5 by 3 business card set up here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my rulers on, hitting Command R, and I know you can't see that, but now I have my rulers painting across the top and the left. Right there, and right there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to set my bleed marks. Okay, well, what is a bleed mark? Well, as you can see, let's take a look at the other document, our final document again. And you can see that we're wanting this business card to go all the way to the edge, right here. We want the color to be going all the way to the edge. We want it to be cut here, and we want it to cut here. So that means that we have to set this up for a bleed. So in this document, what we're going to do is we're going to pull our rulers 1/8 of an inch away from our document on all sides. Now, why do I say 1/8 of an inch? Well, 1/8 of an inch is standard for your bleed margins. So let's go ahead and set those. 1/8 of an inch or 2 hash marks away, you know, whichever is easiest for you. Okay, so now we've got our bleed marks set up right here, outside of the document, these green lines. Okay, so now that we have the bleed marks set up, what we're going to do is we're going to set artwork limitation guides and our copy limitation guides. 1/8 of an inch inside, and then another 1/8 of an inch inside of that 1/8 of an inch. I know that's kind of confusing, but once I show you right here, it'll make a little bit more sense. So you have your bleed, you have your actual document, and then we're going to go 1/8 of an inch for your artwork. Now, what's an artwork limitation? Well, this kind of means, you know, this is a safe guide for whenever you're building your document, you don't want any delicate artwork to go anywhere past these lines, because then you risk the chance of it getting cut off in production. And that's the same with copy. This is just kind of the standard rule for copy. You don't want any of the copy to be too close to the edge. You don't want it to get cut off for sure. So we're just going to set these guides so that you have a clear vision of what you're supposed to, where you're supposed to build your document. So once again, these rulers here indicate your bleed marks. This is how far you're going to want to build your document. These far out green ruler lines. This black line here, this is your actual document. This is what's going to be printed and cut. This is exactly it right there. These, however, these rulers are your artwork guides. This is where you want to keep your artwork in, and then these are your copy guides, where you want to keep all your copy within. So now that your document is set up properly, it's ready for some banging artwork and art designs. Alright, so next time tune in, and we'll be talking about some color, and we'll get closer and closer to the building of this business card. We'll see you soon.